afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's Business Bites. This week I'm joined by Susanna Boccaccio of Brilliant Trees Media. I'm delighted that she's here, and I'm even more delighted that I pronounced her name right. Good afternoon, Susanna.
Sen on Sen. Well done. Hi, it's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me here today.
Oh, you just had to be on the list of people to interview. There was absolutely no way we were going to miss you out, for several reasons, because obviously GBTV would not be here if it weren't for you and the amazing expertise you bring to the table. I'm so delighted to be working in partnership with you. That's the first thing to say. Thank you for your help thus far. And the reason that I wanted you to come on is because you are one of Lancashire's hidden gems, as far as I'm concerned. Years of TV work, years of TV experience, and hundreds of businesses here desperate to get out digitally. And you seem to hold the secrets on how to get them, that exposure digitally, in lots of different ways, but relatively soft on the budget, which is good. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that. But for the purpose of our viewers and listeners this week, Susanna, would you share a little bit about you and your background and where it all started?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be delighted to. So yeah, Brilliant Trees Media is nearly 15 years old this year, actually. So I know. And my background, I was lucky enough to be trained in the performing arts. I was lucky enough to go down to London and train at two top performing arts schools down in London. And I sort of had my sights set on a career in the entertainment industry. That's clearly where I was headed, and I was really looking forward to it. But after a while, I just wasn't really enjoying it as much as I thought I would. And I just thought I need to do something a bit different. So I sort of pivoted into radio and television, and actually that really suited me really, really well, because it was still entertainment based, but I just sort of felt it was sort of more focused in a different direction, which just really suited me. I absolutely loved radio, which is where I started on local radio in Blackpool, Radio Wave.
Wow.
I know, I loved it. I spent 3 years there, sort of cutting my teeth and, presenting and producing all different types of programmes and things, which was fabulous. And then I moved to telly, to ITV, where I was taken on as an apprenticeship trainee, sort of a continuity announcer, basically. So I just do all the announcements in between the programmes. Right. And we present the news and present the birthdays for the children and things like that, all up on Border TV in Cumbria. And I loved it there. It was fabulous, and I learned. It was quite a small station. It was part of the ITV network, quite a small station. So we got a chance to do lots and lots of different things and sort of move around into different departments quite quickly, which was great. So we got to learn how to, make promotions, and then we moved into programme making, which was absolutely fabulous, and where I really sort of learned my passion, and making programmes was absolutely brilliant there, and, we really enjoyed it. So I stayed there for quite a while, and then when I had my baby, Isabella, left ITV for a couple of years and worked freelance for a little bit, and then set up Brilliant Trees Media with my husband. And we began making programmes under our own umbrella, under Brilliant Trees Media, for ITV and the BBC. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started, really. So we've won some fabulous Royal Television Society awards for our programmes. And we made some for regional ITV to begin with, and then we made some single documentaries for the BBC, sort of factual documentaries, and then we made a 3-part series for ITV4, which was our first sort of network series on ITV4, which was fabulous. And yeah, so lots of experience really in that arena. And so about 6 years ago, my husband got offered an opportunity at the BBC. So he went and took that, and he's now working at the BBC still. And I kind of carried on Brilliant Trees Media, and I kind of taken it in a bit of a different direction, really. We were already getting a lot of inquiries for sort of video work and corporate work and that kind of thing, sort of health and safety, you know, and so I've just sort of carried it on in that direction because that was much easier for me to manage, and I really enjoy it as well. You know, it's the bit that I love. You know, I love it, and it's all the same sort of values, but it's more sort of short form. So while our documentaries were much longer and bigger, sort of half-hour or 1-hour programs, these are much shorter, and they were just, you know, you could start one week and then be on to another the next week, and they roll on. They're all different stories, all different clients. So we work with lots of different video clients, national video clients. And then we also still work in the TV sector, but more in the advertising sector now. So we make TV ads for clients as well for on the TV network, which is great. So it's really varied.
That is varied. I mean, that's a wealth of experience. Just rewinding the clock a little bit, you talked first of all about going down doing performing arts. What was it that was the turning point that put you off, that kind of made you go, you know what, this is not, because you've ended up on the other side, kind of behind the camera, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, I kind of was in front of the camera for a little while, certainly at ITV, you know, I was on screen quite a lot, you know, when I first started presenting programmes and doing the news and things like that, which I did enjoy. But I really enjoyed all facets of it. And actually, you know, for me, the creative side of program making and now coming up with campaigns for clients, you know, I absolutely love. So I love it when, you know, a client comes to me and says, you know, how can we do this, or how can we sell this, or show people how this is done, or whatever, you know, and coming up with new and innovative and just creative ways of doing that really excites me, and it's my passion, you know. So that was the thing that I just really enjoyed, and I suppose I've just run with, really. So yeah.
You can't tell you're passionate about it at all, Susan. I guess that's the beauty, isn't it, about an early career, or whether we go to college, or whether we get an apprenticeship, or whether we go and get into the world and get that experience. What it's about is kind of saying, you know, this is the field I want to work in, and then narrowing it down to the bit that kind of floats your boat, if you like. And you certainly found that in the creative world. And you are right, you know, I've come to you and said, right, how do I get this message across? And you're fabulous at doing it, you really are. Really excited about the animated you're working on for us on. Can't wait to see the finished version and share it with everybody. But I think, you know, there's a lot of businesses that need to get more digital. If nothing else, the pandemic has taught us, if you're not existing digitally, you're not existing, because everything was shut. And it was one of the few ways we could continue. And that's the beauty of the share sites, were that they could still be operational, still connect people digitally, still put tenders in people's inboxes for them to work on pipelines and things like that. And I guess you've got a similar product. You've got a shop window there of how you can, what digital formats you can use, what digital approaches you can use, and you have got a wealth of experience, and are very willing to share that, because you could have disappeared off into the world of TV work completely. A quick question I do want to ask you. You talked about being in front of the camera and doing the news and things like that. Does it take a certain type of individual? Because you're quite calm, Susanna, particularly the camera doesn't seem to put you off. Now, as much as I can chatter, and trust me, I can chatter, it's still quite daunting. I'm still very conscious. I'm on the screen. I try to block it out and just focus on the guest that I'm talking to. But is your approach different than that?
No, it's pretty much the same, to be honest. And actually, you know, when I first started, I used to get so nervous, you know, and I'm still, I think everybody gets a little bit nervous when the camera's on them, you know, it's just naturally a thing that we do, you know, but I think over time you start to sort of calm down a bit and sort of calm your nerves a bit. And I think you're right, just focusing on that one thing, or focusing on that person you're talking to, you know, is important. But I've worked with lots of different presenters, of, you know, the other side of the camera, as well as a director and producer. And I think the one thing that the best presenter, I think, and the best people in front of the camera all have in common is that on camera, they are the same on camera as they are off camera. You know, and I think it just shows through when you're still that same person, both sides, as you are, you know, you're the same box off camera and on camera. Yes. You know, and that's the thing. So I think if you can relax and just be yourself, people will love that, you know.
You've got to close the voices off, haven't you? And just kind
absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Not worry about what people think about you, you know.
So Brilliant Trees Media has now been up and operational for, is it 6 years?
Nearly 15.
15 years.
Yeah, nearly 15. Yeah.
Wow. And that must make you very proud. I know that very recently you changed your branding for the first time, which, how hard was it to let go of that initial branding and give it a refresh?
Oh, it took me about 2 years to pluck up the courage, because I felt like, you know, oh, it was my little friend, my little you know. And then I realised that I was just getting a little bit too precious about things, you know, and
it's the reputation, isn't it, and the quality of expertise that you provide that sells your service is not necessarily what logo you have, although it's always nice to have a good logo, and yours is the new one. I love it. I think it was brilliant, very eye-catching.
Yeah.
The bit I want to touch on with you and make sure that our listeners and viewers get an opportunity for some takeaways today, Susanna, just to talk about the breadth of provision you provide, from whether that's recording or coming up with ideas or formats, or I know you get a lot of inquiries about what kit to use and what setup to have. So can you share with me a little bit about the ways they help business and the ways you can help business?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. I think, like you said before, you know, video is really coming into its own, you know, and just this partnership, GBTV, is an example of that. You know, you wanted to use a different platform to kind of show off your expertise and what you did, and tell people a bit more about Lancashire and how it works, you know. And actually this conversational kind of format is perfect for that. You know, it's absolutely just made for it and works really well, and it's your personality behind it, which again is interwoven into it, and which people will love, you know, because they're finding out all about you and your brands all of a sudden coming to life, you know, which is what it's all about. And I think there's so many different ways that brands and companies and businesses can use video in so many different ways to do that, you know. And it's just a case of being a little bit brave and having to think about those different ways, whether it's you know, I've noticed on LinkedIn over lockdown, there's absolutely loads of people doing little vlogs, video blogs, you know, and they're brilliant, really, and, you know, done in the right way, they're fabulous, you know, because actually all of a sudden, instead of text and a face, you know, you're hearing that person, and you're hearing how they talk and their language and their little nuances, and they come to life, and all of a sudden it gives your brand a personality, and people buy people at the end of the day, you know. So they're the kind of things that video can really do. And I think, you know, if you can have that emotional connection as well with the customer or your client, then that's another fabulous thing to do. You know, look at John Lewis at Christmas. I mean, that's just a perfect example. You know, they get you with that emotional connection every year, and we all buy into it, you know. And then the other way is obviously that information thing. So what can you give your clients and customers that, you know, will really add value to their lives, you know, and change their lives for the better. You know, you might be saving them time, you might be saving them money, whatever it is. You'll be giving them some unique information that your service or your products provide. And that's another brilliant way of companies doing video. I think one of the most watched videos on YouTube is how to fold a fitted sheet. You know, I mean, you know, and it's really, really good. When you watch it, you'll be amazed, and you'll do it with your fitted sheet, and you put your fingers in the coin, and it goes all flat. It's brilliant.
What are you making of TikTok then? Because that's predominantly videos, isn't it?
Well, someone asked me the other week on one of the courses, you know, what do I think of TikTok? And he said, you know, we're using TikTok for our brand videos, and what do you think? And I think, you know, if that's your brand and it suits your brand, then brilliant. You know, if that represents your style, and then go for it, definitely. You know, I think there are lots of ways. And actually, you know, obviously we work with companies that maybe want to get on telly, doing TV, stuff like that, or we'll work with we work with big and small companies that maybe want to do, you know, video campaigns. And we'll work with training, you know, we'll train people in companies as well, but you don't always need a massive crew, you know, and loads of sort of fancy kit. You know, if you've got the right ideas and it's executed in the right way, you know, you can do stuff quite efficiently, let's say, you know. And actually one of the things that I always talk to clients about is, you know, if we are going to film with you, how can we use that footage in different ways? What else can you use it for? You know, how can you get the value out of it? Because I think that's really important to give clients is, you know, value, basically, you know, of how they can use that when they've spent the money on it, you know.
I agree. I think one of the things that sometimes I think is a misconception, Susanna, is that because, you know, you've been in the profession for so long, you've worked in the industry, you've gained all that experience, you've got links to TV, you're very slick at making the videos and the wraparound graphics and branding. I mean, you are so good. I'm guessing people might watch and say, that's something I can't afford. But actually, controversially, on the other way, it's because of that expertise that you've learned how to streamline lean management things, do things much quicker. By doing one piece of footage, as you just said, you can spin that into different aspects and formats for people to use in multiple ways. So actually what they're paying for is higher quality than what they're paying for. So just talk to me a little bit then, because you alluded about the ITV Hub. I'm sure there are lots of businesses out there that would relish the opportunity to get on places like that. And I'm sure most people think totally out of my budget. So just talk to me a little bit about how a business could possibly approach getting on something like that.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? All those different platforms like ITV. And I think, you know, when you mention ITV, a lot of people just glaze over and kind of go, it's out of my budget completely, you know. But the catch-up service on the ITV Hub is £35 for 1,000 impressions. So it's affordable, you know, you can hear from that, it's an affordable cost. So I think people are quite surprised when they first hear that and they go, oh, hang on a minute, that's not got millions of noughts on. You know? And obviously you'll need to do a campaign and be production costs in there, but actually it's in line with other spends. So I think it's always just worth considering in the mix. You know, okay, it might not be for you, but don't rule it out. Get the costs, get you know, and evaluate it against everything else. And I think a lot of good campaigns, as you know, it'll be a mix of everything, depending on where your audience is and how you want to reach them. So but it does work, yeah, really.
And I think ITV is just one of the channels that you can get people's things out on, and obviously you can do the production and all the other assets if need be. But I think definitely because of the way we are at the minute, there are businesses going back, but a lot that are kind of hanging fire. And a lot of businesses that have realised, actually, I don't need all the staff in the office. We can be operational. We can operate online. We've had to. We've survived for 3 months. So let's try and look at streamlining travel, which obviously affects carbon footprint and things like that. And I think the world will be slightly different. And because it happened to the world and not just to one country, everybody feels that need to change and connect. And you're right, digital and technology has made so many leaps and bounds over the last couple of decades. It is the way to go, and because of it becoming more common, it's also becoming more affordable. So I would absolutely agree with you that do what we did, which is pick up the phone, talk to Susanna, and try and find out where you can move yourselves forward. I mean, we've got the GBTV with you, we're getting the Anavid done with you, we've got a couple of other things on the back burner. I'm quite excited, and actually for the cost of that, it's as much as either joining a networking group or spending money on a marketing platform. Or so yeah, definitely I would highly recommend people pick up the phone and talk to you about everything you can do. Is there anything else, Susanna, that you'd like to share with our listeners and watchers today?
Yeah, I just think there's you know, as you were saying before, you know, there's so many different ways of doing stuff, basically. So I just think, you know, and even if we're not involved, you know, I would just sort of encourage you to just try video in different ways. You know, pick up your smartphone. You know, some of the courses we're running today, how to video like a TV pro on your smartphone. You know, and you know, these are great.
How do people get on those courses, Susanna? Because you are running quite a few workshops. I know you're doing some with Boost. Is that right?
We're doing some with booze. We're doing some. They'll be on your network advertised on Lancashire, so we'll be able to sort of book on them through that as well. So if you go to the Lancashire website, we'll be able to hook onto it through there. And we've done some. We're doing a national webinar next week. I'm quite excited about that. I'm gonna get nervous about that one.
Yeah, that'll be a brilliant one. I'm really excited.
But you know, on that, basically, we're giving away loads of hints and tips on how you can get your own video for free, you know, and see how it works for you, you know, and use these little hints and tips, take them away, put them into practice, have a go, and see if you get some return on that. And I hope you will, you know, I hope they will get some return on it. And then, you know, they'll look at production companies if they need to for their next campaigns, and you know, make it bigger next time, which is the hope. But you know, there's tons of stuff you can do with this little old smartphone. Well, say little old, you know, they're not anymore, are they? They're dead fancy and
and expensive. Probably more expensive than one of your campaigns, actually.
Probably, yeah, exactly.
Going up in price, don't they? But yeah, I mean, the one thing that I will say about you, Susan, I'm not sure it's the best business model, but you are so generous with what you do, and you have such belief in the end product and the results it can get, that you give so much away, and you're constantly doing it, which is hints and tips on how to get a video and how to shorten it. And I'm sure the people that take that advice and work it to their advantage then come back to you because they've then seen the value. So in a way, your giveaways are giving a return before anybody's even tried you, which is a beautiful way to operate, and exactly our ethos as well. But I guess the other side is it's not always for a return, is it, that people do it? So I know, regardless of whether we get returns off what we've done, what it has achieved is our website is slicker, it's more up to date, it's more aligned with technology, it's what people expect. So it's adding brand credibility as well as potentially bringing extra people in. So it does two things, in my view. It's not always about the numbers.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, and we were talking before and saying, you know, I mean, largely my business really, mostly it's gone each year, rolled on through just word of mouth and referrals and clients coming back. And that's how I've operated really year on year on year. You know, I've taken a bit of a concerted effort now to kind of try and I'd like to scale up the business and grow it a lot more, which is kind of why I'm reaching out a lot more into different networks and trying to sort of get the word out really of who I am and what we can do at Brilliant Trees. So hopefully it's working and I'm in the right networks with the right people on the right platforms. So
I would absolutely agree. It's an absolutely delight to have you part of our share family. It's even more delightful to work with you as a partner on this. You know, it is about getting part of our brand out, but for us, we see so many businesses and some of those stories are harrowing and some of those stories are just incredible. And we just wanted another way to get that voice heard and get those stories out there. A lot of the businesses that watch them then contact us to say, actually, I relate to that really well. And we've had some brave people come across. You know, last week we had Danny Simpson who talked about, I said to him, you know, you're a 20-odd million turnover company, and is it not easier for you than a small business that's trying to tick over? And quite rightly, he said, well, no, because the bigger the purse strings, the bigger the payroll, and more people can lose their jobs if I don't get it right. So every business, regardless of shape and size, has similar issues. And I can't thank you enough for helping us to share those stories.
Well, you know, thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure. And it's something that I'm really sort of passionate about. One of the things I love hearing about, I love hearing other people's stories about how they run their business. You know, being a business owner myself, as you are, you know, it's not as smooth, as wonderful and glamorous and all the rest of it as it looks at, you know, when people see you at different things, you know, and it is a roller coaster, you know. And when you hear obviously other people's stories of how they face challenges and how they've overcome that and how it's made them stronger, actually you can relate to that, can't you? And actually put your own challenges into perspective a bit and maybe use their advice or their information, and it just helps. And it, like you say, it's just part of that whole sharing thing, isn't it?
Makes your journey easier when you know you're not the only one. You know, sometimes I think a lot of business owners, you know, some just flourish, some put a facade on, some just go out there and think positively regardless of what's happening. But it is nice to get a down-to-earth story about actually behind every door, behind every MD, no matter how big or small, they are thriving in their own little area of expertise. and trying to help other people along the way as well. So again, can't thank you enough for the stories. It's an absolute pleasure to work with you and be part of working with Brilliant Trees Media as well. Thank you for joining me and being so honest and sharing your story.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Susanna Boccaccio, thank you for joining me on this week's Business Bites. Take care.